Alright, so I was going to give a little back behind the scenes here of my show and what I've actually have set up. So this is basically my main control station here. I've got a Raspberry Pi running my show. I've got a wireless router all connected up. I've got a F16 here with two power supplies powering each side separately. And then I have an expansion board, differential expansion board with three outputs of it. And then you also notice over here I have two lines coming in. One is for a LOR box that I have coming out, and the other one is for I think it's for another expansion. Not actually sure. What did I do? Oh, never mind. One is for DMX and one is for LOR. Since I have some DMX floodlights, that's what that's for. Then I have a little radio receiver, radio box, a CZE05B receiver, and it's been running my radio. It's actually been pretty decent this year. I kind of have it away from the rest of the stuff over here so it doesn't get as much interference. And that's pretty much everything inside the main control station here. Then from there I have everything set up where we have lights across the roof. I added the snowflakes here, as you can see, as it auto focuses kind of strangely. And then it goes up. Got all the snowflakes. Let's see, so the top roof line is one. This top roof line is one output. That side one is another one. That's the big snowflake is one. I think there's two separate outputs between the center spinner and the outside wreaths. And then like all of the snowflakes around this garage is one output, and then all the snowflakes going up the roof line is one, and then going all the way across and down is another. So this is a wreath. You can see the three rings around that I made. Put pixels around that. Originally it had a garland around it, and I took that off and hung that up. And then I got this spinner, and it fits right inside of there, and it's mounted as well, kind of as a separate model there. So that's kind of how I have that set up. And then I have my larger snowflake at the top there that's basically just zip tied to that little area that's open there, little vents. So all these snowflakes across the front of my garage here, and I put a PVC across there. I have a couple screws. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully, maybe you can see a little screw into the top of that brick layer, and I have that PVC hung on those screws, and then the snowflakes are just tied to that, so they're just kind of hanging there. You can kind of see that if it got windy enough, they could flip around, but they haven't been too bad. The snowflakes I put up on here, like on the brick, they're actually not. They're not actually. No holes were drilled into there. I'm using these little brick clips. You can kind of see one there on the wreath, and I have one or two on each one of those snowflakes as they are up and around. And this side I did the same thing with the PVC and hanging it on the screws that I have across there. So that's kind of how I hung those this year. It's been working out pretty well. I had some over here as well, and I did drill something on the side here, and I put the little Lexan clips for PVC. I put two of them, and they were able to hang 4 of those snowflakes up there, not a problem. Closer look at the screws that I have right here, holding these up. I just have it zip tied around the PVC here, or through a hole in the PVC that I drilled, and wrapped around that screw. Seems to hold this up pretty well. It's not going to go anywhere. One of the other benefits with this is that I can actually run all my extra wires that I need to back here in this kind of channel, and all the way along the side there I had a bunch of wires running on this kind of small ledge of this from this brick, since this is sticking out a little bit. And also since it's sticking out a little bit, I can put these screws in a hole on the top of this brick and nobody will ever see it, so that's pretty convenient. So down the sides of my house I had the snowflakes up and down here. I had 3 of them, and actually I zip tied it to my light here. You can still see one of the zip ties. That actually held it up pretty well, because most of it's all just stuck, just kind of shimmed up in there, and they go to the bottom, or to the ground, so it actually has some resistance against the ground, since they're kind of just sticking up there. On the side of the house, I put 2 of those screws with Lexan clips, one at the top and one at the bottom here, and that seemed to hold that really well. And I'll take those out, and you probably never see those little holes that I drilled into there, so that was pretty nice. And up underneath my roof line there, I have PVC as well, with the clips holding those up. That seems to work pretty well as well, going all the way across there, and then I had some here, and then up all the way up there I have a couple, same here, and then up underneath here, as well as up underneath the roof line there. So that's pretty much all there. Inside the right side of the garage here, I have this is a receiver board with power supply, and it's running 4 outputs, and that's for I believe that's for my snowflakes here. Let's see, staying on the house side of things here, so if you notice, this year I only have like 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 wires coming out of the garage, which is much better than having like 30 that I had before. So this is much actually better. I don't have a whole bunch of crazy wires running everywhere, but then I have across the front of here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which combining them up there isn't too bad. Kind of like to put them over the top here. In the corner here I have another receiver board, which you can't really see it, it's kind of dark. That's another one that's running. It's got 4 outputs of it. It's running the lights around the window. It's also running the lights around both of my columns and the window over there. So I made some like PVC that goes around the post here, and all I did with this actually was just tie it with some string. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of, there we go. There's some string. I just tied these 2 on the top and the bottom, and while it's not really secure, it's secure enough. As well as this side, I did the same thing. I have 2 pieces of string that I tied these to, and they seem to work well. You can kind of see the other side there, tied around. This side, I have these window frames. Built those all out of PVC as well, and zip tied the lights to there. And I have 1 Lexan clip about right there, and another one on the other side, just the same way. And those 2 hold this entire thing into place. And it's pretty snug inside there, since I built it exactly to the frame of the house, that window of the house. So this is actually just sitting here on the bottom, and it's been really well. I have that one done there, as well as this one here. It's exactly the same way. Going into the yard now, this is all the wires that I have going into my yard. I got 2 network wires, 1 power, and another power. One of the powers is for my drip tubes that are up in the trees there, that are all they're all connected as one output, and they're running off of one LOR output. I have one box here, which has 2 power distribution boards. You see the lights on them, and another receiver board. So they're running a little bit heavier. I don't have that much actually output of them. I've done a bunch of power injection on this side of things, because what else would I have 2, right? And only 3 outputs out of there. So it's running all those the spiral trees there as basically on one long output. So it's power injected across there, like between 2 of them there's a power injection, and then also my sign in the front, which I'll show you in a little bit. Those are all running together, one output. All the arches are running as on one output, and then all the trees are running on a different output here. So that's there. And then the last thing is my mini mega tree, and I think it turned out pretty good. It's got a star on top. Turns out looking pretty cool looking, right? I basically staked these into the ground because I don't have anything else right now to make a circle around that, so I need to work on that next year, another project. But then I kind of squished them together, so it's almost like a flat tree made out of the strips. And then with them, I have 2 guy wires, one here. This one's kind of loose, which is fine. Then I have this one on the back, which it is kind of taut. And then another one on the front there, which is kind of loose as well. Mainly because the tree is pulling forward so much. So if it needed to pull back, it could totally hold a little bit more weight there. So basically those 3 guy wires are holding it up, and then basically all the strips are kind of acting as guy wires as well, sort of, but not as much. So then down here I've got my power coming in and my network. I've got my power coming in there. This is actually running another F16. It's got basically somewhere close to 14 or so outputs. No, I don't know. 11 outputs, it looks like. Basically each 2 is running as one output, and so that's about, I think it's 45 up and then 45 down, is what my strips are these strips with bullet nodes. And I've got 2 power supplies in my battery box here, which has been pretty decent. I glued the heck out of these to make sure there wasn't any water that got straight in. If water got in, then I've got it actually raised up off the bottom, so, and also some holes drilled into the bottom so that could leak out if needed. But then, like, the wires kind of come out right out of the side here, which is really kind of convenient. 2 power supplies I set in here. Each one goes to each side of the output, which seems to be working pretty well. Let's see, I think the one other thing I wanted to show my sign. So I put little like signs in my yard that says please stay off the grass, happy holidays, because people tend to walk through my yard and trip on wires and stuff. So trying to do something about that. And then I got a happy holidays, tune your radio to 101.1 FM, which is my radio station. My wife has a I forget what it's called. It's not the Cricut, it's the other one. Little cutout machine that she cut out vinyl and made it look all nice. And so put that on there on basically some plexiglass and put lights in the back of it and put a wreath around it, and it's just hanging on two like fence little rod things that are stuck into the ground, and got some paracord wrapped around it, and it's been hanging there all season. It's been great. Let's see. One last thing is at the front here I have my P10 panels, and I kind of put them up as a second thought this year. I didn't end up putting it in a box or anything. I actually just put it inside behind the window and closed my shutter and made it stay like that. So it's really just shoved in behind my shutter.